Hello, Icon Talks friends and fans. It is my pleasure to speak to you today. I have a very special message for you. During these COVID-19 pandemic times, is your life too busy? Do you always have deadlines to meet? Are you constantly multitasking? Connected to your phone 24/7? Suffering from FOMO, fear of missing out? Is it very too often that instead of a good book or a calming piece of music, it is your cell phone that lulls you to sleep? Are you quickly heading towards that dreadful airport called destination burnout? What if I told you that there was a way to gather all of your problems together and solve them yourself? Yes. Have you ever heard those terms? Take a chill pill. Sleep on it. Put on your thinking hat. It is now autumn and the beautiful autumn colors are outside to enjoy. Have you taken the time to go and smell the roses? The Canadian geese will soon fly south. The monarch butterflies fly to Mexico, while the bears hibernate. All of nature settles into this state of reflection. And may I propose that the last few months of every year are the time to just reflect. So come with me as we go on this path of the what not, the why, and the how of reflection. Well, you may be asking, what is reflection? Reflection is the art of asking questions, switching off all external distractions completely, and switching on your internal focus. Asking yourself some really introspective questions. As cartoonist Henry Arnold said, the wise man questions himself, the fool others. Reflection is heightened self-introspection. I was reading this book by John C. Maxwell called The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And the fourth law says, the law of reflection means learning to pause allows growth to catch up with you. Now, let me tell you what reflection is not. Reflection is not just simply doing nothing, idleness, daydreaming. It's not diminished self-loathing, gloating, negative self-doubt, pity parties, and depression. No, no, no. Reflection is the pause that refreshes. This COVID-19 pandemic has had a big impact on mental health. We have the choice whether to use it as a pandemic pause or a pandemic cause for worry and anxiety. We choose whether to refresh or to regress. By the way, if you've lost your job during this pandemic, you do have the time to reflect and refresh your skills. Because remember, on the question of jobs, AI, artificial intelligence, and automation can replace everything but three things: creativity and innovation, imagination, and strategy. And all of these are byproducts of, yes, reflection. Now you may ask, what are some of the benefits of reflection. What do I get when I reflect? There are three main benefits that I would like to point out to you today. Number one, reflection teaches and transforms experiences into insightful change. Have you ever heard the term, experience is the best teacher? I'm going to challenge you to think that it's not experience, but rather evaluated experience after reflection that is the better teacher. Experience is often thought about as a hard teacher because the lesson often comes after the test. Think about that. Well, it's a little humorous to see parents turning into teachers nowadays. I see so many TikTok videos like that. It's not too funny at that time, but it is hilarious because parents weren't meant to really do the job of the teachers in the classroom. However, we can model our kids' behavior based on our own example. How? By switching off our cell phones sometimes and picking up a book, teaching them how to reflect. Follow effective action with quiet reflection, said Peter Drucker, because from that quiet reflection will come even more effective action. So reflection leads to even more effective action. Donald Schoen, S-C-H-O-N, a leading MIT social scientist and consultant, in his book, The Reflective Practitioner, studies really different professionals. And what he concluded is that professionals learn not so much from the academic lessons that they learned in school, but rather by self-introspection, adjustment, and then changing behavior. So it is really by evaluated experience and reflection that our professionals get better at their work rather than what they learned in school. Let me share a story about my own journey in a work environment. In 2012, I was in a very toxic work environment. I was in a group that had a lot of bullying in my co-workers. They were pulling me down, and along with me and my other colleague, we were totally harassed and bullied. Yes, bullied. I tried everything. I even went and spoke to the HR person, but to no avail. I did a little bit of reflection, friends, and at that time I realized that I needed to be vulnerable and open to my friends about looking for another job. Yes, I had to humble myself, change my attitude, and get off my ego, tap into my network, and tell them about the toxic environment that I was facing. Remove all shame and actively look for another job. Sometimes that's all you can do. Fortunately, I was able to get another job, which not only paid me more money, but also allowed me to work autonomously with my own freedom and thrive. I don't know where I would be if I didn't take the time to reflect and transform that bad experience into insightful change and attitude. Number 2, reflection builds self-awareness and gratitude. Every significant leader in history, whether religious or political, has spent time in solitude. And so do artists and teachers. Great teachers like Buddha, politicians like Abraham Lincoln, and the biggest leader, according to me, Jesus, all spent time in solitude so that they know themselves better and they were grateful for what they had. Self-awareness and gratitude. In the year 2014, I still vividly remember my husband coming home with the bad news. Honey, I lost my job. I was devastated. It was the year when our oldest son was going to university and we had big bills to pay, notwithstanding our own house mortgage, and left with just one salary. My whole world came crumbling down as I asked him, what are we going to do? In spite of the anger and the frustration, we sat down and we communicated. We realized that we weren't very prudent in saving money and we needed to get better. Unfortunately, it did result in us having to sell our home and live in a rental unit. But upon reflection, it strengthened our family and our two sons. It improved our communication. And I must say that it taught us the importance of financial prudence, fiscal responsibility, and saving for the future. I'm happy to say that our family is stronger now. Even though I may have lost my house, I didn't lose my home. And I learned the lesson on how to save for our next home. So reflection builds self-awareness and of course gratitude. I'm so grateful that I have a family as loving as mine and my husband too. The third benefit of reflection is reflection accelerates empathy and personal growth. You know, it said, Jim Rohn said, a minute of thought is worth more than an hour of talk. A minute of thought is worth more than an hour of talk, said Jim Rohn. At the end of the day, friends, play back the tapes of your performance. The results should either applaud you or prod you. In 2019, just last year, it was a sunny October day. We were expecting guests at home, and my mom and I were cooking the evening meal. As she stirred the pot of a fragrant Indian dish, I could savor the smell and the taste. Before you know it, she doubled over, clutching her back, and told me, the pain is excruciating. I was taken aback. We had to rush her to the emergency where we were told that she only had a few hours to live. That experience sank my heart. After 2.5 months of grueling visits to the emergency and to her hospital bed, it taught me, upon reflection during those long drives, the importance of family and of relationships. Happy to report that my mom survived and is thriving now with a miracle cure. But it has taught me empathy. It has taught my family and myself how to care for elderly parents. I was not the most patient person, I must admit. But this experience of my mom's illness has taught me to be empathetic to seniors. It has taught me to make allowances, to be patient. My mom and I didn't have the best of relationships as I was growing up because I was a very rebellious child. But today, I'm so happy to be able to have the privilege of taking care of her. So you may ask me, how do I actually reflect? What are some of the tips and techniques of reflection? Number one, I'm going to share 8 tips, but You can only follow a few. You don't have to do all. Number one, schedule it. Schedule a time for reflection. Put it in your app, in the Notes app, or put it on your Google Calendar, but schedule a time. For me, it is 10 p.m. at night where I switch off all my devices and I take the time to introspect and reflect. Number two, create a safe space. For me, it's down here in my basement. I have a couple of pillows on the couch, and when I get cozy, I can reflect in a better frame of mind. Some of you may need music along with that special place. Reflective music. Go for it. So have a thinking place, number two. Number three, ask good questions. You know, John Maxwell has another great book called Good Leaders Ask Great Questions. What kind of questions can you ask? Good questions are the heart of reflection. Take a look at the handout diagram that I've provided in your notes section by Gibbs. And that teaches you the circle of how to evaluate what happened, what questions to ask about the things that happened today, and then take action to get better the next time. Anthony Robbins says, successful people ask better questions, and as a result, they get better answers. Questions about your mind, your body, your soul, and your spiritual growth, your career, your relationships, your dreams. Self-awareness questions. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? And then focus on amplifying your strengths, which will automatically diminish your weaknesses. What are the love languages of my loved ones? Did you read that book by Gary Chapman, The 5 Love Languages? Read it. How can I fill the love tank of my relationships that matter? My husband, my children, my colleagues. So number 3 is asking good questions. Number 4, writing. Journaling is powerful. Some of you may use the Notes app to journal. Whatever you do, writing is powerful. Looking at your thoughts on paper, looking at the questions and the answers are very, very dynamic way to reflect. Number 5 could be exercising, taking a walk. Some of you may not have time to really sit down or have privacy in your home. So just go out, take a walk, maybe exercise, and that's your me time to reflect. Number 6 could be meditation or prayer. Just closing your mind, breathing in, connecting to your Creator in prayer could be a great time to reflect. You could even use an app like Calm on your phone. Number 7, reflecting as a group. Yes, that is a thing, a mastermind, creating an inner circle of people that you can trust and reflecting together. They say iron sharpens iron, and that's a wonderful way to reflect. Number 8, I would suggest working with a life coach. Some of us have therapists, a mentor, a sounding board, a coach. A life coach is a great way to reflect. In conclusion, we spoke about what is reflection, what it is not, why reflect, what are the benefits. We mentioned 3 main points. Reflection teaches and transforms experience into insightful change, where I spoke about my toxic work environment and having to become vulnerable. Number 2, reflection builds self-awareness and gratitude. I spoke of my husband's job loss and our home loss, a house loss rather, how it taught me self-awareness and gratitude. And number 3, reflection accelerates empathy and personal growth. I spoke about my mom's illness and how it taught me empathy and value relationships. We spoke about some of the ways that you can reflect, like creating a place of reflection, scheduling time for it, writing it down, asking questions. So you may say, it sounds like too much work. It is, but it is so worth it. So, no matter whether you're listening to this talk maybe 2 months from now, 10 months from now, or maybe 2 years from now, take time to reflect. Make it a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual affair. Take a chill pill, sleep on it, turn your FOMO off, and put on your thinking cap. Pause and reflect. Thank you for listening to me today, and I hope your reflections lead to greater insights.